This week's episode is brought to you by Heroes 1 in Comics and Collectibles. Listen, if you live in the Middle Tennessee area, you have got to pay Mike and the gang at Heroes 1 in Comics a visit. I get my comics personally from there, and trust me, they treat you like family as soon as you walk in the door. Go to heroes1incomics.com for the location and their hours, and make sure you mention that Tyler Haynes from Nerdwide.com sent you. Welcome back, everybody, to Nerdwide.com's weekly podcast titled Hero Cravings, The Multiverse, where we cover and break down all Marvel TV shows, Gotham, Black Lightning, and Krypton, episode by episode, for you, the listener. As always, I'm your host, Tyler Haynes, with my good friend and co-host, the man himself, Chris Rivers.
What's shaking, Bacon?
Ooh, I liked that one. Quick housekeeping. Don't forget to share, rate, review this podcast on whatever podcasting service you use. We're on it all. We're not on Spotify yet, but don't worry about it. We are officially on YouTube, and we're doing our best to upload every single one of our Hero Cravings episode on there. So make sure you subscribe to us at youtube.com/nerdwide. We'll put some pictures up. You get to see my face. Don't know if that's going to make you subscribe or not, but I think it will. Chris recaps Blacklist and Blindspot at purefandom.com, so make sure you check out his weekly recaps there. Now, this is our 26th official episode, and let me give you a quick recap of how this is going to go down. Each week, we go through all of our Multiverse TV episodes in order as they air. We're going to bring you our thoughts and reactions to every episode. We will be starting Legion next week, so don't forget to catch up on that if you haven't, and that starts back up coming up. That being said, we're going to jump right into our episode with Black Lightning Episode 10, Sins of Our Father, The Book of Redemption. Right back at it with them long names, whatever. Yeah. We're finding out that Green Light is actually making more metas, and the ASA is kidnapping them, just like they did 30 years ago. We find out that Anissa went to where Gambi found those kids last episode. She finds out they're actually still alive. They're not dead. So she's got a big problem with that. We see Lala is now seeing Will. So I don't know how he goes between Will and what's her name? You know who I'm talking about. She's not even Lawanda. There we go.
Lawanda, yeah.
So I don't know how that works. Why is it just those two are the ones that are tattooed onto his skin? It's very weird to me.
They're the only two we saw.
Yeah, why are the only ones we... Yeah. Oh, okay, good point, Chris. There was a real cool Black Lightning and Thunder fight between a bunch of ASA agents. Really well done. Again, they don't expect... that was well choreographed, too, with the way that they intermingled with each other. Making the electric shield so they don't get shot, and then letting... What's her name? Letting Thunder out and to fight people, and then she's being used as a shield. It was all really well done. The writers did an excellent job for that. Mm-hmm. I love that fight. 2-Bit makes his return. He tells Jeff about the kidnapping he saw. He didn't tell Black Lightning, he told Jeff. Because, they used to be students. He used to be a student of his and everything. So it was real good to see that relationship come back. The ASA comes to Gambi's tailor shop. They kidnap him using the people of Freeland as leverage. Not a good thing. You shouldn't be doing that. Come on now. Gambi actually is getting tortured by the ASA because the ASA believes that Gambi knows about Black Lightning. We know he does. ASA thinks that he knows. But Gambi was getting real bad torture. He's getting waterboarded, getting punched. Just your normal stuff, I guess. But the ASA asked Gambi, they said, you might be strong, but your surrogate son, Jefferson Pierce, might not be so strong. And they said, it's kind of funny that you took him in after you're technically the reason his his dad got killed.
Right.
So, but that was very well done. Gambi did some real good acting this week. ASA takes Jeff, but then Jeff ended up actually saving Gambi because Jeff sees Gambi in this sorry state. He looks at him, and Gambi kind of nods. And then we see Jeff's eyes light up. The power goes out. Gambi kills the ASA agents he is being tortured by. And they leave. Gamby tells Jeff to find the spotter like he was, and what he meant by that is Gamby used to be back in the day when they were using the little formula to make metas. He would spot where the metas were until the other agents kidnapped him. They said, if you want to find and stop this, Gamby told Jeff, he said, find the spotter. That's where we're going to start. And then we get a big drop at the end of this episode. We find out that the vice principal of Garfield is actually in the ASA. That was a big shocker to me, because at the beginning of this series, I thought she was going to be like a love interest for Jeff. I don't think she's going to be anymore, because the ASA told her that Jefferson Pierce is Black Lightning. We finally got some smart people in the world, because they put two and two together. Excuse me, don't know why I'm yawning. And they said, it just happened that when Jeff showed up for Gamby, the power went out and Gamby killed the agents. So it was a shock to the vice president, vice principal. Have I been saying vice president the whole time? Shoot.
Yeah, I think so, but just roll with it.
Yeah, no. Her name is Kara Fowldy on the show, by the way.
Mike Pence was in this episode.
God. Yeah, love interest was in Jefferson Pierce and Mike Pence. Oh, man. Anyways, so we now know the vice principal is part of the ASA. She now knows Black Lightning is... Well, the ASA now knows who Black Lightning is. This is going to throw a huge wrench in a lot of things. So, I wonder... excuse me. I wonder if...
God, dude.
I don't know what it is. We don't have any more coffee or anything here either. And it's not like I'm tired. I don't know. I'm just getting... I'm talking too much is what it is. So I think this is going to throw a big wrench. I don't think it's going to take long for the ASA to figure out that Anissa is Thunder. And I don't think it's going to take long before them to use Jennifer as well. Now, we didn't see Tobias Whale at all in this episode again. He was mentioned for Lala. But I don't think he's still mourning, I'm assuming. And he's going to come back with a vengeance and kill Black Lightning. Or attempt to. But, wasn't really... I mean, besides what I mentioned, there wasn't a whole lot that happened this episode. It was more character development between Jennifer and Lynn about her powers. And, Jennifer and Jeff being a father-daughter again, hanging out and talking. So, I didn't really have much for this one. Early numbers for it, 0.5 rating, which is pretty steady. 1.55 million viewers, which is actually up 0.10, which is great. I'm glad to see it still doing well. And the next week's episode is titled Black Jesus, the Book of Crucifixion. And we are actually, let me double check. I think we only have, let's see, 1, 2, 3. I think we got 3 or 4 episodes until this is over, guys. To the season finale.
Let's see.
April 17th is the finale date.
3 episodes.
So we're fastly approaching our season finale. Like I said last episode, I really hope we hear sometime soon. I mean, I'm okay with it being the week of the finale to kind of amp it up, but I kind of want to know more. And I really hope they don't wait until after the show.
Do you think, and I'll ask this while you yawn again.
How'd you know?
I could hear it. Do you think that we're going to see or not see Tobias again until the finale?
Ooh. Do you think we're going to do all this ASA stuff?
I'm wondering if he's going to come back in the finale and we'll see something with maybe Jennifer as part of the cliffhanger. Maybe she's in peril. And without him knowing, of course, that it's her, with him just seeing her as maybe she's in the field training and something happens.
I don't know. Because we had that little spurt of power for Jennifer this episode. And Anissa said, you're just like Dad. I don't know what she meant by that.
I think just the fact that it's like the power of lightning.
Right.
She's got.
So hers is like heat. And I think they put her in a CT scan,
Right.
and they said
that was freaky.
Yeah, that was different. They said she's unlike her dad, because Black Lightning draws the energy from things and puts it and stores it in himself. She has energy inside of her and she puts it out.
Right.
So I wonder how that's going to play. If she gets out, if all that energy's gone and she doesn't have any powers anymore, or I don't know. I guess we'll find out. But Chris, now here's the episode I really want to talk about. I'm really excited to talk about. Krypton, episode 2, titled "The House of S.H.I.E.L.D." Strange mentioned the Zeta Beam, which is his mode of transport, which is in the comics, and now it is in Krypton. I know we mentioned his comic side last week, but we also talked. This further proves that's how he traveled in the comic books, his Zeta Beams. Mm-hmm. And same thing. We're getting the show Krypton. Way to keep that way. Way to keep up with the source material. We found out Darren Vex, his actual job title is Chief Magistrate. I'm assuming that's if you want to talk in British terms, it's the was it the Chief of the Parliament or something like that?
Probably, yeah.
Something. Then you got the Queen and stuff like that. So I think that's kind of how this is. We found out that all of Krypton is inhospitable except for Kandor. And that's because of the force field that they have. They said it's a blessing from Rao, which, whatever. So does that mean, I'm assuming that there is nothing else on Krypton except for this force field at Kandor.
It looks like a pretty desolate place, because once you go outside the force field, it looks like an older city.
Right.
Where some of the buildings have kind of even toppled over onto one another.
It's very cold or something like that.
And then it would be pretty cold, I think, in space, right?
Yeah, that's a very valid point.
And then once you go beyond that old city, somewhere out there in the wasteland is the Fortress of Solitude.
Which I think is just such a weird name, anyways. Because, doesn't Superman have a Fortress of Solitude? But I guess that it'll all wrap up and make sense together.
Kind of where he got it from.
Yeah, I get that now. As I'm sitting here babbling on. We find out that Black Zero is the enemy of the state. This is their rebel. Their Han Solo or Leia Organa. But... So we haven't really seen him. He's been mentioned a lot. The military guild is wanting to launch an operation to go down to the poor district, the rankless district, and find Black Zero. They don't care if they hurt innocent people. Obviously, Lyta does, and I feel to me she's a true hero because she does not want to kill or hurt the innocent people. And that being said, she challenges her commanding officer to a duel so she can lead, so she can have a voice at the table to say, no, we're not going to do this. I think that says a lot about her character, especially because this duel is a challenge to the death. So, and she's taking on her commanding officer. And we saw last episode she's not really she's a good fighter, obviously just not up to the par of her mother. So I thought we were about to see this love interest be squashed real early. Obviously it didn't happen. She kills her commanding officer. Well, he said mercy, and she said we do not show mercy, and broke his neck and killed him. I was like, all right, there's some good stuff going on here. So now Lyta is a commanding officer of her little branch, which she's real young. She's still underneath her mother, but she is still a commanding officer. So we'll see how that relationship plays out.
And her husband-to-be is now under her command. Because remember the tall guy?
Yeah. Is that her husband-to-be?
She's betrothed to him. That's what made the whole thing with she and Seg kind of...
Oh. Interesting. Sounds like we got a nice Flash, Iris, and Eddie scenario going on here.
Go for
it. Val warned Darren and the council about Brainiac, which Val-El is Seg's grandfather, but they killed him for it. That was what they killed him for, was they said, there is this, I found something that's coming towards us that is a danger to Krypton. But they killed him for it, which is douchebaggy enough because they don't want to believe that there are other life forms out in the world. Nissa, which is Seg's arranged marriage lady,
Yeah.
gave him his parents' ashes with the House of L sigil on it. And I thought that was a very touching moment. Of course, it wasn't really touching. I want to like Nissa, but no. She gave him her parents' ashes, and he loved it. He went back to his old house where his parents died, and then a mother and a young girl show up, and they give him a rock with the House of L sigil on it, and they explained how much they meant to them, and it was very touching for him. It kind of got like a little bit of a closure. Not some. I mean, it is what it is. Seg goes back to his Fortress of Solitude. He gets his grandfather's projection, which we'll obviously see a lot in Supergirl and Superman stories. We're seeing it in Supergirl right now with her mom, because they always have that projection thing, you know.
Yeah.
So it was good to see that, and then so Val-El and Seg are talking, and this is all of Seg's Val-El's memories and emotions up until he died. So he doesn't know when he left the Fortress of Solitude that day and he got killed or taken into custody. That's as far as he knows. But they start talking about things. Val-El says he made this Phantom Zone, or found out this Phantom Zone, and Seg kind of makes a face at it. And Val said, "What?" He said, "No." He goes, "I guess that's a good name for it." I thought it was kind of funny how they mentioned that. And then Seg promises to his grandfather that he's going to finish what he started, and I thought that was great. And then Seg's got this new motivation in life. He goes to back to Darren Vex and Nissa Vex, and he says, "I'm not going to wear this anymore." He says, "But I am going to still be a part of this." He goes, "I'm not going to wear your sigil." And then randomly, the voice of Rao comes back and tells this whole point. I didn't think the voice of Rao could talk, but he can. He goes to and he states to Seg. He says, "You can wear the sigil," and he says, "You can wear the sigil of the Science Guild and not the House of Vex." And that was because the voice of Rao knows that Darren is trying to control Seg, but he says, this will help you control him easier if you kind of like give him a little bit of a leash, And then while all this is going on, Adam Strange and Seg's best friend who owns the bar, his name is not his name, Kim. He is the one who owns the bar. They went outside of the force field, and they found Brainiac and like a piece of Brainiac, and we find out Brainiac is on Krypton. He's not coming. He's already there, Chris. What an episode, though. It was really well. I mean, I enjoyed it.
It was really well done. Yeah. It's hard to kind of know where they're going.
Yeah.
Because it's the second episode of the entire series, and we've talked before about you've got a 10-episode run here.
Mm-hmm.
And what do they plan on doing story-wise? Because you have to assume that you're going to get picked up. And so are they going to just use these first 10 episodes to kind of lay the foundation and then set up Brainiac throwing all these obstacles at him in season 2? It's going to be interesting, but I think they've cast it really well. Now that we're 2 episodes in, you can kind of get a feel for how everything's playing out.
I didn't think Adam Strange was going to stay, which, I mean, he has been staying, so I don't... he might be one of those characters that's on again, off again, but I don't know. I liked the chemistry between his friend and Adam.
Yeah.
So we got a nice little trio being built here. We didn't get a lot of... Well, I don't think we even saw Seg and Lyta at all talking to each other. No, we did at the very beginning because they broke up. They said, now's the time we're going to cut this off, not later.
Yeah.
So, and then she goes off and be's a badass and kills our commanding officer, becomes a commanding officer. Early numbers, 0.3 rating, which is down 0.1 from last week. 1.07 million viewers, which is down 0.25 from last week. Yeah. Should we be worried?
I don't know. You have to remember it is cable. They're
Right.
going to draw lower ratings.
These aren't on-demand numbers either, I'm assuming.
No, these are just regular overnights. So we really won't have an idea until we see the DVR numbers.
Yeah.
Um, but I still think it's acceptable for sci-fi.
Yeah.
Um, some of their hit shows for them have routinely drawn like around a 1 or so. So it's well below that, but it's also a franchise that I feel like if you're not following the news in this comic book community, you might not have seen an advertisement for it.
Right.
So word of mouth will be big, and I think that's where we'll see it about episode 5. If the ratings are worse than this, it might not bode well.
Yeah, we might not have a good momentum going forward. I'll try to do what I can, Chris, and boost this show up. I really like this show.
I agree with you.
Next week's title is The Rankless Initiative. Got nothing for that one.
I'm assuming maybe an uprising or a suppression, one of the two.
It's got to be one of the two. All right, next show, and this is a big one, ladies and gentlemen. Gotham Season 4, Episode 16, One of My Three Soups. What I like about this one is we're getting Ben McKenzie, who plays Jim Gordon, directing this one again. And this was a great episode. You know how we do this, heroes and villains. Heroes, we'll just go ahead and start because the villains interwebs with our heroes real well. So, heroes, Harvey and Gordon are partners again. They're going out in the field and taking care of everything. And we saw Selena and Bruce break into Gordon's office because they are going to steal Jerome's file. That's all we have for like the heroes side. But for the villains, here we go. Let's go. We start off at Arkham. We see Tetch for the first time. We see his first time in a while. We see his little cell. He has a guard that gets notified by a light outside of his cell. He or she puts headphones on, and there's like 4 or 5 other guards placed along the hallway for Tetch. And so she goes in because remember, Tetch hypnotizes people with his voice. She goes in there, finds out what he wants. We find out that one of the guards didn't have headphones on, and she gets hypnotized. Tetch gets out, kills both of those guards. He frees Scarecrow, Jonathan Crane, and then they free Jerome as well. So we've got this trio that is out at Arkham now. So all of our like main villains are not in Arkham anymore.
Cool. And they release everyone else in that wing.
Yeah, what was it, the criminal,
the violent
criminals.
Criminal wing.
So they're the ones that are let out, and that kind of traps the GCPD to an extent. Yes, you've got these 3 that are out, which the GCPD really didn't go for Scarecrow a lot. They were mainly concerned with Tetch and Jerome. Now, and the reason that they were with Tourette's, Tetch, was because there are no choices for Jim this time. Now, I know you remember, or should remember, that last time we saw Tetch, we saw his sister die. And Tetch blames Gordon for this thing. But every time he would play with Gordon, so to speak, he would give Gordon a choice of what to do. He tells Gordon, there are no choices this time. He says, it is my way, and this is how we're going to do it.
I love this scene.
Absolutely. This scene is wonderful. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm throwing up some pictures about it right now. But there's a wedding, a couple that were assumed just got married out in the middle of a street with cars all around them. Go ahead.
Yeah, actually, Bullock later uses their car for the radio bit. It had just married on it.
Yeah. Good eye, Chris.
Yeah.
I was just assuming they were on their way to marrying, whatever. So we got these cars around this wedding couple. And above them is a, what do they call those things? The demolition
ball. Wrecking ball.
Wrecking ball. Sorry, Miley Cyrus moment. he says there are no choices. And Gordon was like, "What do you mean there's no choices?" And then he drops the wrecking ball on this married couple. It was brutal, dude.
It was so well done,
Yeah,
though.
they had like just blood and guts and cloth go everywhere. I was like, "Oh, all right. I see how we're going to do this." Um, but what stopped Jim and Bullet going to get to them was all of these people got out of these vehicles that were surrounding them, and they stopped them. You know, of course, Gordon and Bullock's not going to kill these people just to save two people, but you know, to each their own. But we shift over to Barbara, and we find out she is researching Raish. Because remember last episode, she's got this glowing hand, this migraine, she's seeing Raish, don't know what's going on. So she's like going through all this mythology trying to find out who he really was. We find out these migraines are happening because her memories are trying to force her to remember, and she actually allowed herself to remember, and we see how she was brought back to life. Before the hiatus and everything, we know she came back to life from being electrocuted. We didn't know how Raish brought her back. We see now Raish saw something in Barbara that he hadn't seen in other people before, like an initiative and a reason. And so he brought her back to life with a Lazarus pit water. He made her dead body drink it, and she comes back to life. But when that happened, Raish told Barbara she's going to become the Demon's Head, and she was going to be the new leader of the League of Shadows if something ever happened to him. That was weird to me. Not where I thought we were going to go with this. I could have swore, you know, she's got this essence in her hand or in her body now. She was going to put it back in Raish's a Raish-like body, I'm sure, which is still potentially happening, you know.
Right.
But that's where I thought we were going to go with this. We found out that she is now the head of the League of Shadows. She used a little glowing hand, made a beacon. All these people showed up, and not like your traditional garb that you see in Arrow or the Batman Begins series. They're just in like regular clothes. They all challenge her for it. And she says either challenge me or bow down, or I will take you all down myself because you're all weak. All the men bow down. The lights turn off. You hear a bunch of gunfire, and then only like 5 women are standing. They said, you know, we're strong. They were all weak, like you said, and we're not going to bow down to. We're going to bow down to you because it's time for change, or however they convinced it. And so now Barbara is the Demon's Head. She is now the League of Shadows. Tabitha didn't really take it well. She's like, we're bringing in these people we don't even know nothing about, which to be fair, that's understandable, you know. But that's how we ended that. We find out she's the Demon's Head. So we go back to Tetch and Jim. They made a riddle, and he didn't. Tetch made a riddle, and Bullock and Gordon figured this riddle out, and it's gonna be a bunch of people committing suicide. Well, they get up to this roof, and they see like 10 people on the rooftop. They're trying to figure out how they're gonna get these people from not jumping off, because anytime someone moves closer to them, the people put a leg out and get ready to jump. Now, what we didn't know is Bullock and Gordon look up, and every single rooftop has people on top of it, and there were thousands of people getting ready to jump off a building. And then Bullock, like the classic Bullock he is, gets into the car, like you stated earlier, and hypnotizes himself so he could find what radio station Tetch was using. I think this said a lot about Bullock in this instance for him. So it was very well done. At the end of that, Gordon goes to the radio station, takes Tetch down, and figured out the exact words to say to get everyone not to jump, which I think was save everyone else. Don't worry about yourself, save everyone else, and it kind of saved everybody. So Tetch gets arrested. So I know what you're thinking, guys. Where is Jerome during all this? It always comes back to Jerome. He went to his uncle because for some reason he needed some information from his uncle about school. And then that's what, like I said earlier on the hero side, why Selena and Bruce was breaking in to Gordon's office, because Bruce needed to find out where Jerome was because he needs to stop. He had a chance to stop him before, and he didn't. So now he's back, and he's trying to stop him. But we find out that... Do what?
I was going to say Jerome's he owns a diner.
Right. And
which is where the soup comes in.
yeah, where I guess because you remember last time we couldn't talk about where one of my 3 soups came from, which one of them was not tomato soup and one was not cheddar broccoli. Whatever. Poor writing, I guess. Come on, guys. We find out that Jerome was a very tortured individual in the past. I mean, we could have guessed that anyways. But we found out that while his uncle was making a soup one day, the uncle put Jerome's hand in a boiling thing of soup and burned it, of course. And he's going to do the same thing today. Jerome gets burnt. His throat and his face, and the lower half of his face, got burnt from a boiling bowl of soup. Bruce actually saved Jerome's life from being killed. And then Jerome, in classic Jerome fashion, was like, should I save him or should I let you keep saving me? And he goes, I don't know. He told the big black guy which was the bodyguard for his uncle, to keep trying to kill Bruce, and he was having fun with it. And then Selina, of course, comes in, saves Bruce, and saves the day. But the big part of this episode was Tetch is being taken back to Arkham. Scarecrow in his Scarecrow garb and Jerome break Tetch out, and the trio are still out and about, ready to be captured. And Chris, I don't know if you saw the next episode's title is Mandatory Brunch Meeting, but the preview for it said, like, it kept flashing up words, and I implore all of you to Google this. It said, "Who is the Joker?" And that was, like, it's what the words said. It had, like, all these cool scenes going on. And next week's going to be crazy, dude, because I feel like we're finally trying to state who the Joker is.
Right.
Because we've had this whole guessing game of who is Jerome Joker. Everyone's like, no, he's not Joker, but yes, he is Joker. We don't know. The writers haven't really told us that this is who it is. So,
the closest that we've gotten is Jerome is not the Joker, but Cameron Monaghan portrays the Joker.
Yeah, so it's very confusing, but they're being very secretive about it. And I'm really excited about it. I can't wait, dude. I can't wait. Gotham's gonna be such a good episode next week. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Before we stop talking about Gotham, I want to go back to that scene in the diner where Selina comes in and saves Bruce.
Mm-hmm.
That was a great scene.
Yeah.
And we talked last Multiverse episode about how their scenes together when they're fighting and so forth are so good. And I know that the creators of the show were probably mainly thinking when they cast Cameron Bicondova in the role of Selina about Catwoman and the way she would have to move around Gotham, and the fact that Cameron Bicondova has a dance background.
Right.
But it really pays off in those scenes, in those tight spaces.
Yeah.
Because she moves so well. I'd be interested to know if she even uses a stunt double.
Right.
I don't
That'd be
know
a good
that
question.
she would. Yeah.
Ooh, we should tweet her out. I said, hey, I just thinking after this last episode, do you use a stunt double for any of your scenes? Because she's on Twitter a lot.
Yeah.
I might have to remember that. I might do that tonight. But absolutely, like it's crazy to think about that. We have seen very, very, very young David. How do you say his last name?
David Mazouz.
David Mazouz and Cameron. We've seen them like very young when we very first started out in season 1, and now they're in real life like older teenagers. And not just young kids anymore. So it's crazy just to see these characters grow as they grow in real life, you know? Feels good. I'm really excited for next week. Dude, I can't wait.
Yeah, absolutely.
Early numbers, 0.7 rating, which is steady. 2.39 million viewers, which is down 0.08. And like I said, next week is titled Mandatory Brunch Meeting. It's going to be fun. I don't know what Jerome was after with his uncle. It was always the name of a school, but what for?
My theory on it is going to be that he has a twin brother at the school.
Yeah, and they kept them separated.
Yeah.
Oh, dude. All right, I'm going to take that into consideration and remember that for next Multiverse episode. Next show we have is Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Episode 515, titled Rise and Shine. Great episode. So we remember last week we had Coulson being taken by Hale. Hale actually reveals to Coulson that she is Hydra and that she thinks it's finally time for S.H.I.E.L.D. and Hydra to unite so they can stop the looming threat. Again, we don't know what the looming threat is. We remember last week at the end of it, it was about the Confederacy. We don't really know what this Confederacy is until the end of this episode. So we got a lot of answers. We got a lot of back history for Ruby and General Hale. And that's where we're going to start off. We get a General Hale flashback episode. We find out that there used to be a school for Hydra members. It was underground. It's where we see the present day now with General Hale and her daughter and everybody is in this school. We see a young Agent Sitwell, which if you remember from the MCU, he was in he was in Captain America. What was the second one? The Winter Soldier.
Winter Soldier.
We see Agent Whitehall, who's been in like the past 2 seasons that Coulson killed and buried, and we also saw a young Von Strucker as well. So we had a bunch of all Hail Hydra people in it. Chris, I don't know if you saw that or not. You will see it on the YouTube video. I did the Hail Hydra symbol.
Oh, did you?
I did. So we get this little bit of this. So General Hale back in the day, was a very smart individual, very gifted, very, very for the cause of Hydra. And to graduate, you had to do something. I don't know if it was something for everybody, the same thing for everybody, or if it was just for her. But she had a dog, and she had to kill the dog to prove her initiative for Hydra. And Chris, that makes her an instant douche canoe, if you ask me. I don't know if she gets the honor this week, but Chris, I am fighting for it. You don't kill a dog.
No, you just don't do that.
Oh, man. So we find out that she is not... She wanted a position. She always wanted to go to space. She wasn't able to go to space. They said they have a better reason for her because she punched Von Strucker, who was supposed to be the next leader of Hydra, and that kind of ruined her chances. So she is actually, because she is like one of the only women in Hydra, which I thought this was pretty sexist on anyways, but I guess it was back in the past, so I mean, it's, I guess, normal. It shouldn't have been, but it was normal. Whitehall wants Hale to be artificially inseminated, so her spawn or her baby will be the new leader of Hydra and not Hale.
So here's the question. Who's the baby daddy? Is it a Von Strucker?
Ooh, or could it be Whitehall?
Because Von Strucker was already tabbed at that point that he was going to take over Hydra.
Right.
So wouldn't you want the person in charge to be the one to have their offspring in this important role?
That's a good point. I didn't even think what the father was. Because I mean, Ruby, which we find out that Ruby is the baby here, but I don't know. She was bred to be a leader of Hydra, and she knows that. We found out this episode. And with most flashback episodes, I started to feel and understand a little bit what General Hale's going through and what her thoughts are, because she had all these aspirations and goals, but she was not eligible to do that because she's a woman and she went against the head of the Hydra. But you have to think she's given her whole life to Hydra and was the best in the top of the class. So I don't know, man. But then we have a flash forward a little bit, and then we go to the last 2 years, and we see Ruby. She's going through the same scenarios that her mom did with the flashbacks, well, not the flashback, with the training for Hydra. She's a part of like the same rooms and everything. We get to the point of, or 2 years ago, the past, I think that put us at where Hydra was being routed out. We see Fisher, who is a high up in the military, as well with General Hale. He kills himself instead of being taken captive, and he gives her a key number and coordinates to a vault that's high up in Hydra. He says, "You're the only one who could do this now." And so General Hale goes back to where Ruby is, because remember, all of Hydra is falling apart now. And then General Hale kills the guy who's accosting Ruby because Ruby didn't want to kill her dog. We see like a very rebellious Ruby, a part of Hydra. She's very so much for Hydra, but she's still being like a classic teenager is how I saw this. And kind of going against the grain. And I thought that says a lot about her, because she's like, I'm not going to kill this dog. Why would I kill him? And then General Hale kills her, and which makes Ruby and Hale like officially the last members of Hydra. Not including Von Strucker, because he's out in the world, you know. And he doesn't want anything to do with it. But whatever. He's back now. So, before Hale's friend killed himself, which is Agent Fisher, or General Fisher, or whatever he was, we found out that they made contact with aliens and that it's not going well. I think his termination is like, it's bad, it's not good, or something like that. Mm-hmm. Then we come back to 6 months later. We find out Talbot is actually alive, and he knows that Agent Johnson is not the one who killed him. It was an LMD. And he gets whisked away because he's having frontal lobe problems. He's having random outbursts, impulse outbursts is what they call it. And he goes to the Hydra facility unbeknownst to him. And then he found out that what was going on, because General Hale tried telling Talbot what everything was going on. Hale told Talbot, a lot of names going on right now, that she is Hydra, and that it's not so black and white anymore. It's not S.H.I.E.L.D. against Hydra. She's trying to make sure the world is okay. And then, so we go back to present day. We see Coulson, and it's the classic Coulson and Ruby scene of they find the breakfast. They go to the breakfast, and then Coulson goes, oops, all berries. I love this cereal. He says, if your mom wants to know where I am, I'm eating this cereal in my room, and leaves. Or if you know where General Hale, he'd say mom, because he didn't find that out till later.
Right.
Which was very against the norm, because everybody we've seen to this point is trying to talk to Ruby and things like that. But Coulson's a lead in his own. He knows everything. So
yeah.
We get as General Hale is trying to talk to Coulson about all this, like I said earlier, they're not trying to make it's not so much black and white with Hydra and S.H.I.E.L.D. They're trying to protect the humanity at any means necessary, and they go to the where the little alien technology was, which is, I'm assuming, what had Fisher had in the vault that he was trying to tell Hale about. Mm-hmm. She told him to grab on. He says, nope, I'm not going anywhere near that. He says, I don't like it's got alien technology. I don't even know what it is, but I don't want it.
Yeah.
Very, very Coulson. And it made me laugh so much, just because it was very much him. But he says, if I don't touch it, and the little robots went on guard and was going to get ready to shoot him. He says, okay, so he grabbed it, and he visits the Confederacy with Hale. He figures out what's going on and everything. We find out that Whitehall had a program, and it was titled Destroyer of Worlds, and that was what he intended. I'm assuming he intended Ruby to be. But of course, we know from the future that it's Quake. Quake was the Destroyer of Worlds, and she's got that. Well, we don't know that.
They think it was.
Yeah,
Quake.
It's alluded she's the Destroyer of Worlds.
Real quick, did you notice when Hale introduced him to the alien? She called him one of Earth's mightiest heroes.
Yeah, that's definitely a nod towards the Avengers.
Yeah. I thought that was great.
Yeah, I didn't mean to put that in the notes, just because it's a little small little cameo there, or a nod.
And he is considered by Nick Fury to be an Avenger. That's
true. So, technically, that title is correct. So, we find this out, and Ruby thinks she's supposed to gain this thing, and Coulson broke the news to her. He said, no, it's your mother does not want you for that. She wants Daisy Johnson for that. And Ruby gets this little angered face, and I don't see anything good coming of that face. Pretty sure she's gonna try and kill Daisy. We all know that. But we're gonna flash over to where the agents are in the lighthouse. Yo-Yo is undergoing surgery to gain her new arms. It seems to be going okay. I hope they spruce up her arms a little bit, because they don't look good, in my opinion. We'll see how it goes. Daisy wants to go find Coulson real bad. They can't figure it out. They try to asking Fitz, and Fitz is like, let me out of here and I'll help you find them. I can't help you from in here. And of course, they're all like, no, absolutely not. So Daisy is going to try and find Robin out of hiding so they can find Coulson, because she could tell the future, so why can't they tell her where Coulson is?
Right.
That's the last we see of Daisy for this episode. And then we see Simmons go to Fitz. And this is probably my favorite part of this whole episode was just this one scene. She's talking to him, and she says, "Do you recognize this tool?" And she hands him like a Swiss Army knife, and it's got like it's blurred and it's black and charred. And he says, "Yeah, it's my pocket knife or my tool that I use. I got that number when I started to lose my mind. I carved this number in it." And he said, I think he said like, "It's mine." And she says, "Well, kinda." And she handed him his, which is nice and clean and everything. She goes, "Actually, this is yours. This is Deke's." And she said Deke got this from his grandfather. From his father, who was passed on from his dad.
From his mother.
Yeah, from his mother. And so he was, and like you see it hit Fitz. He said, wait. He said, "That would mean," and Simmons like, "Yep." And he says, "My grandchild's a Deke?" His face like was so funny, but what's so crazy about this is, and they touched about it with Yo-Yo with Simmons and Mac, is that Fitz and Simmons are immortal. They know that everyone's trying to say that they can't break this loop that's happening, but they say that if this loop cannot be broken, we are immortal, so we know we survive into the future.
Right.
So that's going to be some problems, I think, down the line. Because I think they're going to break this cycle. Obviously, they're going to break this cycle. But at what cost to one of our team members?
Right.
So
somebody's probably going to have to die.
Yeah, because that's exactly what's going to happen. I just feel like that's what they're alluding to, or foreshadowing.
Or, not necessarily, though. I just thought of something. So, if you want to break the cycle, the loop, you could do it by saving Coulson's life, because that would change everything.
True, but didn't future Yo-Yo say, "Don't try and save his life, this is what the problem is"?
Well, she said don't try to save his life because the way that they originally tried to save his life, apparently, the way I took it, led to the Earth being quaked apart.
Yeah.
Like I felt like that was all in that same line. So
right.
If they find a way to do it where that doesn't happen, then everything changes.
I mean, I thought it was fun, but for sure someone's gonna die. And that's kind of a thing that kind of makes me curious for Deke, is because of, I think he'll be the factor of if the future stays the way it is or not. Does that make sense? Like, if he dies off, that means the future changed. Or not really die off, but like disappears.
Well, does it though? Because Fitz and Simmons could still have their daughter, who would still have Deke in the future.
Right. I don't know, man. Time travel's so weird. I hate when shows do it. Early numbers, 0.5 rating, which is steady. 1.86 million viewers, which is down 0.21. And this is the second smallest audience ever in overnights. And this is, of course, comes from tvline.com. That's still a lot of viewers, though.
Yeah, but that's not for a network show on Friday night. So, but this is their first season on Friday nights, so they've never been on a Friday night at this time of year. So
they need to bring it back, Chris. I'm telling you right now. They better sign on.
I'd like to see at least one more really good season.
Yeah. At least somehow have Grant Ward come back into the show, because I love him. Next episode is titled Inside Voices. I don't know what that means.
No.
All right, Chris, it is time for the fan favorite segment that everyone's waiting for. Douche Canoe of the Week. Who holds that beautiful honor?
We're going to give it to Martin Proctor.
Yep.
Head of the ASA on Black Lightning.
What a douche. He just, I don't think he doesn't have kids of his own or anything, but the way he's torturing Gamby, who was an agent of his or friend, and I don't know. I just don't like him. Out of all the shows, definitely him. I mean, you could have given it to Jerome for trying to kill his uncle and then trying to kill Bruce or let Bruce fight for himself.
Yeah,
but yeah, Martin Proctor definitely. What do you think about Hero of the Week, Chris?
For me, this one was easy.
This might be his first time.
It might be. Hopefully, it's not the last.
Hopefully not.
Harvey Bullock.
Yeah. The way he just jumped into the car and let Jim do it. What was the quote you told me earlier about him jumping in the car? Or what he said to Jim?
Yeah, he said he was able to jump into that car and find the correct radio station because he knew that if things went sideways, Jim Gordon was going to be there to save him.
Just such a touching moment.
And with all they've been through recently, that just shows that trust never really got broken.
Right.
So.
Yeah, it's good. Good job, Harvey. Hopefully you get many more of these in the future. Now, Chris, what was your favorite episode of all four of these?
Got to go with Gotham. I loved it. I loved having the three villains. Scarecrow didn't get a lot of time, and remember, that's a new actor playing Scarecrow now because they changed that up. Hopefully, in the next couple weeks, we get to actually see his face. But having Jerome back was great. The one thing I will say that I wish we'd had, but I don't know where they would have really fit him in at. I wish we'd seen Alfred.
We haven't seen Alfred in 2 weeks now.
Couple weeks, yeah.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
But you got a little bit of Bruce and Selena. We got Barbara, and we got movement on the Ra's al Ghul storyline.
Finally.
And
I just act like that didn't even happen anymore.
Right. But it just, some, like we just talked about, some good Gordon Harvey moments. I just thought it was a home run episode.
Yeah. Mine was Krypton, but S.H.I.E.L.D. and Gotham were both tied for a very, very, very close second. And I feel like I say this every week that I have someone tied for second, but I mean, just all of our shows. Like I don't feel that Black Lightning's up to the tier of these other shows right now, but Krypton just blew it away with the relationships that are forming. Voice of Ral and everything. We got Val-El as a projection. We got a lot of nods to the comics. I mean, they were all great. S.H.I.E.L.D. was excellent. Gotham was excellent. I just had to go with Krypton this week.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I don't believe so.
We got Legion coming up, so instead of 4, we're gonna have 5 shows.
Yeah.
So
and then we'll have Black Lightning drop off not long after that, so we'll be back to 4. And for us, we're about 6 weeks away, I think, from Heroes and Villains.
I can't wait. So if you are going to Nashville Heroes and Villains, reach to us out on Twitter, which I'll say here in a minute, our Twitter handles, and let us know you're going. We'll gladly take some pictures and talk to you. But that's it for this week. Don't forget to go to youtube.com/nerdwide and hit that subscribe button and like the video and hit that bell so you can get every time we upload a video, you'll be notified. Don't forget to review and share this around on all your favorite podcasting services. And make sure you share this around all your favorite social media platforms. Don't forget, you can follow Nerdwide on Twitter at nerd_wide. You can follow me personally at Ty_Haynes, and you can follow Mr. Rivers at MavTN7. And don't forget, if you do come over there and follow us, let us know where you come from. As always, I'm your host, Tyler Haynes, with the man himself, Chris Rivers, and we cannot wait to share our thoughts with you next week.
Peace out, people.
Thank you.